My name is Judy Livingston. I'm the chair of the English department at Columbus State University. I have been at CSU for 5 years, and I teach, this semester I'm teaching critical methods, but I also teach early American literature and writing theory. I was born in Gainesville, Florida, and I've lived all over the South, but I've never lived outside the South. I'm married, I have 2 beautiful children, and I spend my time at CSU and then with my family.
I Hear America Singing by Walt Whitman. I hear America singing, the very carols I hear, those of mechanics, each one singing his as it should be, blithe and strong. The carpenter singing his as he measures his plank or beam, the mason singing his as he makes ready for work or leaves off work, the boatman singing what belongs to him and his boat, the deckhand singing on the steamboat deck. I chose, when I was asked about my favorite poem, I chose I Hear America Singing by Walt Whitman, which was part of Leaves of Grass. And I chose it because poetry is not really, I'm the chair of the English department, but poetry is not my expertise and not my area. But it's the first poem that really I just loved. It wasn't from an academic standpoint. It felt very familiar to my own experiences. I come from a family where my father was first generation American, and he grew up without any economic resources. They grew up with, they really struggled financially, and his father died when he was young, and so they worked manual labor jobs. And my mother's family was very privileged, and they were doctors and lawyers, and there was always a tendency to look down a bit on my father's family and on my cousins and so this poem was a poem that celebrated the value and the importance and the kind of the beauty of manual labor and of different skilled workers in a way that I'd never seen before in literature. And it allowed me to be kind of proud of that side of my family when I'd been taught to value white-collar workers and doctors and lawyers. And so it made me happy to see something that celebrated my family.
The shoemaker singing as he sits on his bench, the hatter singing as he stands. The woodcutter's song, the plowboy's on his way in the morning, or at noon intermission, or at sundown. The delicious singing of the mother, or of the young wife at work, or of the girls sewing or washing.
One aspect that appeals to me about this poem is I've always felt a little conflicted in my response to the whole idea of patriotism. It's celebrating an America, this ideal America that is democratic, it is diverse, it's different workers doing their best, enjoying their work, and it's a really beautiful ideal vision. And it's something that, from my background, I grew up in a military town. My father was in the Army when he was young, and he has been working on an Air Force base his whole life. It's something that really conforms to this representation of what the United States is supposed to be. At the same time, I have a lot of friends and I know people that have not had that ideal experience in our country, and it's been a much harder experience for them, and singing doesn't really seem to represent the life experiences that people who've struggled economically or struggled with different jobs have experienced. But the image of it as our ideal, as what can be achieved, is something that I find great comfort in. And so rather than being a representation of what we are, I read it as a representation of what we can be and what we should strive to be.
I love this poem because in some ways the way the form and the style of the poem replicates the song that the speaker is talking about, and the rhythmic representation of song and the joyfulness and the celebration of what Whitman is representing here. At the same time, that's a point of tension for me because, you know, the United States, our country, is a very messy place. It's very difficult to see this joyfulness in all aspects of life, and we see the loss that people have, we see the sacrifices people have made, we see the times when we fall short in the poem and in real life. But it's interesting for me that Whitman has his own blind spots. He's so good at having this inclusive vision of our country. He's so good at celebrating all these different diverse people. But it focuses more on men. It focuses more on white men and celebrates that experience. He does include in 3 lines, he does include references to females, but the delicious singing of the mother or the young wife at work or the girl sewing or washing, it's there and it's present and it's important in the poem, but it gets overshadowed by the male presence. And I've learned that that's okay, that I can both be a little irritated by that, and I can be as a female, but I can also accept that the rest of the poem is something that really I respond to, and that the singing with open mouths, they're strong melodious songs, that I can embrace that and I can be made happy by that. There's also another presence that Langston Hughes, he draws attention to in his poem I Too, when he very explicitly calls Walt Whitman to task for leaving out the African American experience and for silencing that experience. And so I think that while I've always loved Whitman's I Hear America Singing, I think I prefer to read the 2 poems together as a call and response, as a statement and a counter statement by 2 very talented, very impassioned American poets.
Each singing what belongs to him or her and to none else. The day what belongs to the day. At night, a party of young fellows, robust, friendly, singing with open mouths their strong melodious songs.